Well, yeah. I mean, the positive side is about 5 weeks ago, I'd have taken a game like this. You know, it's just like it's your perspectives and can so quickly change, right? When it's tough sledding and it's not quite, wasn't going our way, and then you get to a point where your expectations are higher, and then you have a game that's like, whoa. But sluggish games happen. I mean, I think you can look at probably every sport, if you probably ask Don Staley, or sometimes you just win and you would just win and it's like, oh, we weren't really happy with any aspect, right? Sluggish games are going to happen, and I think we just got to learn from it. I talked with the players. You just find a way, and I just felt like we just never were ever getting all of our pistons firing at the same time, but. I know both sides, and I think when you're a competitor is like, every ugly win will forever be better than a pretty loss. So I wish we would have played better. I think a lot of things contributed to that, but I'm still really thankful that we got the win. I mean, yeah.
Sid said something about how your ball screen defense has gotten so much better. Mm-hmm. You made a change. Can you just kind of talk about what has happened with that?
Well, I think we've always been pretty aggressive. Like sometimes you'll switch with ball screens. You can switch, you can flood, you can show, you can ice. So we've just been a lot more aggressive with our game plans if we're going to ice it or if we're going to flood really high. And I just think that ball screen defenses, they've really locked in to try to disrupt the flow. And so we've just been a lot more aggressive in trying to do everything a little bit higher and more aggressively with the ice or the high floods.
Well, Jan, I wouldn't dare compare anybody to number 22. But as far as a production standpoint, when nothing's working for your offense, Lucy can go and account for over half your points. Mm-hmm. Is there any parallel to maybe what you saw last year where somebody can essentially get you out of a rut when you need it?
Well, I think scorers do that. She was the third leading scorer last year behind Watkins and Caitlin. So they do that. And so when thankfully, she's got into a better flow, right? We weren't doing that about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I know, I'd look at the positive, but I think that is great that she's able to do that. So I think that's just as scorers and, 1, 2, 3, right? With Caitlin and Juju Watkins and Lucy. So I think I'm glad that she's fallen into that flow and she's able to get us a bucket when we need one.
Dave.
Jan, you guys have won in so many different ways this season, whether it be now slugfest tonight, going at Washington, putting up a lot of points. I guess what's the value of learning how to win games in different ways when not it all goes your way, but especially when postseason play comes up and everything?
Well, I think that's the key is if you just kind of keep, if you can stack the wins, right? And, credit to Rutgers. Like they haven't just hung it up, right? They've had a lot of different adversity. And, tonight they're started in play, and that can work a lot of different ways, whether it helped them, hurt them, or whatever. But they were, I told our players, at halftime, I'm like, look, these are Power 4 players, right? And I try to tell them before the game, like, don't look at the record, because every game's just got a different flow. And teams that, they can be, if you don't get in your offensive flow, teams like Rutgers who do a lot one-on-one, do a lot that you can't really know for sure it's fist, know for sure it's thumbs up. That's when it can get a little dicey. But our defense really, really held. But it was just our offense. It's good that we were, defensively we're holding. So I think that, I think anytime you win confidently, because when you get into the one and dones, the Big Ten tournament, and any tournament after that, it don't matter how you get to the next one. You just got to get there. And I think that's what we can draw upon. And certainly, I've wanted to play our best basketball in February, and I think we have, but not tonight. I think when we started with USC and the game at Minnesota, the game at Nebraska, tonight, surprisingly not at home. But I think other than they just started really sluggish, and that's what I was upset about. I could handle missed shots. I could handle, a banked-in 3, but I can't handle lukewarm water. That's what I do not like. And I thought after the one timeout, we got a little bit more aggressive, but for whatever reason, we just couldn't get our offense going.
Yeah, Jan, something that Sydney said was that this year you guys are able to rely on your defense a little more than previous years. So just kind of from your perspective, what is a little different about this year from the personnel you had defensively that may be different from previous years?
Well, I think at the very beginning when we got together, that was just one thing that I told them that, what I thought we really could have a strength over last year's team. And I thought the strength needed to really be our calling card. But it can only be that if you buy in. And I think that was a good focal point of the summer, and I think we're reaping the benefits of that. And throughout the whole year, I think that's why we've really been in most games, and why we've been able now to win a game like this tonight, because they really have believed that, and it's very true. I mean, Lucy's a really good on-ball defender. Kylie didn't get as many minutes, but she was one of our better defenders last year. She just didn't see the court as much. She's a really good defender. Sid's always been a good defender. Hannah can defend. She's undersized a lot. So you got usually 3 or 4, depending who I have on the floor, that are always. I mean, most everybody would tell you they're pretty strong, staunch defenders. So they have done the work. They believe it, and I think that's really been the difference for us this year.
Coach, I asked Lucy and Sid this. Obviously, it'll be much clearer when you all break down film, but just wondering from your perspective and from your opinion, what would you say is the one area that the team did well tonight, and what would be the one area that you would like to see the team improve on going forward?
Well, I think, we held them. I think it was the least amount of points, Bailey told me, in a game since 2012. I think that was really good. I think our rebounding, I haven't really looked at it. Our rebounding, Sid, rebounding. We gave up a little bit there at the end, but I thought that was good because Rutgers, 20% of their scoring is rebounding. So I thought rebounding and defense. Offensively, we didn't have a lot of great flow, but we're struggling to throw it inside. And I like it inside out. And we're just missing the post at money times. That's what a lot of people overlook. Like when a great post scores, she scores because she's done the work and all that, but she gets it when she needs it, where she needs it. And that's the difference in games like this. It's like we're working against undersized posts that are pretty aggressive, but if you don't get the ball right away when you need it, when their seam is there, it's tough sledding. So we need to improve on that. That is a major area. And it was usually it's better from the top and in. I've tried to limit the wings, but everywhere tonight it wasn't good. So that in my mind, we'll see what the film shows. But I think that our cutting was very status quo tonight. And this offense, you got to cut. And it's like the kids always laugh when I use this, but there's some older folks here. Remember the nursery rhyme, you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince, that whole thing? I just told them one time, you got to kiss a lot of frogs cutting, and eventually you'll get there. And they were like, what are you saying? So then we had 5 minutes when I had to go into this. Then I lost them. But nonetheless, my point is you got to cut. You may not get rewarded for about 7 times. Might be 10, but guess what? They're going to get fatigued, and that will be shown tomorrow.
I know when you score 55 points, I think all the fans would just say, it was a poor offensive night. I was curious. It seems like you guys just missed some shots. I was just curious in terms of the looks that you guys got. Did you feel like you guys got a decent amount?
Honestly, I can't remember more than 3 shots I really didn't like. Taylor McCabe, we all celebrated, right? 5 for 8. She went 0 for 5 tonight. That doesn't really happen for McCabe, right? Who was it else? Sid went 2 for 7. She got going, but that's a little bit low for her. But then, we miss a lot of layups, right? That's the thing that's frustrating because I think a missed layup, you hear the collective, right? You miss another layup, And that's and it's deservedly so, but you hear that and you feel it as the person shooting it. And then when you get to the bench, you're like, make the damn layup, right? So that, I think there's a correlation I would like to in my free time when I retire to study teams that miss bunnies in that first quarter, I want to see what their shooting percentage is. I bet you overall there's kind of a tightness that happens, but we just missed shots tonight. I don't think our offense was good. I don't think it was as fluid or as sharp, the cuts. But, I mean, Taylor usually hits a few, right? Aaliyah, missed a couple. She's been a little colder, but they've been good shots. So that's where I'm not the cutting, anything mediocre or lukewarm, that's where I'm cranky about. I believe the shots will come. But the layups, if you're going to be a good team, you got to make layups. And I think we're missing too many of them.
I know you haven't been looking ahead and you're going to take each one of these next two one game at a time, but what can these next two do to kind of continue that late season ascension?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've done a lot of work. I think we've gotten to a point where we're not going into, I don't sense a lot of pressure, you got to have to. It's like we get to. Now we get to maybe steal one or two, at the road games, right, that we have left. And it's going to be difficult. But that's what's fun when you get to this time of the year. And the work that we've done, I think, to get here, I'm just really just so thankful because 5 weeks ago, man, that was just seemed like a distant opportunity to really go and be in the thick of it. But yeah, I mean, we have our standing board in our locker room, right? And, we went above Minnesota, then we went above Nebraska, had a hold serve tonight. That's probably, maybe it's a little bit tight, you get in games like this, but it's not going to, be easy at Ohio State. But I think if we get our shooting back and we play a little bit more free and fearless like we have in our wins, I think we can have a great opportunity. But that's all you hope. You can get to a 50-50 game, right? And a month ago, that wasn't a 50-50 game probably. But now I think if we handle the press, it can be.
Last one.
Sixth straight as of tonight. Month or so ago, right, you guys had some close games, just seemed like you ran out of gas, weren't able to close the deal at the end. So looking on the bright side, I mean, how does it feel that that's kind of been less of a pattern lately? You're able to kind of finish out stronger a little more?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just is a credit to where they were, right? And what I love is I kind of had to talk to him in the locker room and kind of remind him it was a win, right? It wasn't me just because their sights and their expectations. And I think that's the mark where you want to turn, is when they're they were kind of cranky, right? They were a little bummed that they didn't perform, and you're kind of and I had to remind them of, the growth. I go, let's just think back to 4 weeks ago. I said, am I happy that we didn't look at, no, I'm not. And I wanted everybody to see a great game. I said, but at the end of this, every team that's won a championship, I can guarantee you, has had a game like that. Very few. I said, we had a game or two like that the last couple of years, and we had deep runs. I said, so you take them when you can get them. You use the things that you're frustrated about to keep propelling you forward. And ain't that life, right? It's just you got to it ain't perfect every day, but if it's more of a win, then it's a loss, and you can go to the next day. So that's what I'm excited about, is that, I mean, probably a lot of us in this room probably wouldn't have thought we would have flipped that into 6 wins in a row, right? It didn't look so good. So I'm just really thankful that we've gotten here, that we can have a question like that, Dargan. And I'm also realistic that if we think about playing like that, then Ohio State won't be real fun. So I've been both ways. I've been a month ago, and I've been at Nebraska on whatever night that was. So as a coach, you stay in the middle. You try to keep them, improving. And I think if we can do more like we did the last game or two, I think we can be all right. But I got to make sure that we don't replicate this.